morning. Feels like it's going to be a political day at the start of a 14-month political season. Trump's in town today, and he's doing his kickoff for the campaign, 2020 campaign. And it's again right down the street from my office. I expect I'll be able to see the crowd, certainly from our balcony. But I'm going to probably try to go around and get some footage and see what I see. So I'm going to, since it's going to be a political day, I might as well go ahead and get a little political. Term limits, like I can't stress it enough. We got to put term limits in place for senators and representatives. It's ridiculous. Joe Biden was a senator for 35 years. I looked it up. 35 years. That's great. That's not what the government was set up to be. Supposed to be representative of the people in there for a short period of time, and then come back and do your work, go back to your life. Right? It wasn't supposed to be a career for people. And they make it a career, and that makes just the more entrenched they become, I think the easier it is to either to blackmail them or bribe them, which I think both things are going on. Everyone wants to clean up the swamp, and I'm down with cleaning up the swamp. I think a very important thing is term limits. Campaign finance reform, absolutely. I think that the thing that they passed before that they call campaign finance reform, the Dodd-Frank, it was a joke, right? It really didn't do anything to clean up campaign finance. What should it be? I don't know. I'm not sold exactly on this idea, but give every candidate who qualifies and whatever qualifications that has to be. Like you get so much in the primary, you get a set amount of funds, a set amount of hours, and that's it. It shouldn't be like whoever's got the most money can go all the way to the presidency, because it just means that people are trying to throw money at them again to either bribe or blackmail them. So I think those are the two ideas. For cleaning up what we've got, the problems we have now, I'm actually falling in love with this idea. Well, I'm falling in love is a bit strong. I'm actually very intrigued by this idea. For medical insurance, we have homeowners insurance if you own a home, but it's not to fix a light bulb that blows out. It's not to replace an outlet that burns out, right? It's for catastrophic events that happen to your house. You have a massive fire, that kind of thing. Why is medical insurance covering going to the doctors for a checkup, yada, yada, yada? If you take those things out of the insurance cost ought to drop rapidly. Or I know people have done numbers on this. It will cause, so you have medical insurance for those massive, catastrophic ailments, cancer, those kinds of things. But then short of that, it comes out of your pocket because your insurance costs are that much lower. That should bring down the cost of billing. As soon as you put an insurance, as soon as you put a middleman in between your money and where you spend it, they have to skim in order to have a business of being in the middle. To make their profit, they skim. Take middlemen out, right? Don't allow an insurance company to be in between every transaction, because it brings the cost up of every transaction. God, it seems so simple, right? But people are like, well, how do you take them out of the middle of the medical transactions? Don't go when you've got a checkup, you got a cold, take it out of your pocket. Don't pay the doctors directly, concierge doctors. What other big ills are we talking about? Wars, obviously. I'm so against having our guys overseas for endless wars. Bring them home. Use those young men and women to build schools, build hospitals, build roads, build bridges, teach in schools. So much better. There's so many better ways to use that amount of energy. You think about the capital. The money is one thing, and that's certainly bad enough. But think about the man hours. Think in terms of like staffing. If you've got your own company, the amount of man hours of good, healthy, like energetic 20-year-olds that we're just pumping into another country when we could be pumping it into our own country. That's crazy town. So I'm all for. I said before, I'm neutral on Trump, and people get upset if I'm neutral because they feel like, well, you're not backing the Democrats then. No, I kind of am not, but I'm not backing the Republicans either. I'm backing what makes sense. And to me right now, what makes sense is Trump he gave us not a speech, but it was an interview where he talked about the military-industrial complex that exists, that's real, that wants to have endless wars, and how he was against that. I'm like, well, thank you. Finally, somebody said that. Someone who was president who said that and didn't get his head blown off. If he can make peace break out in Iran, he's already done it in North Korea. Everyone was worried that we were going to invade Venezuela. We didn't. Everyone was worried that we were going to invade Syria. We didn't. He bombed once, like an empty building, and then pulled out. It could have been a show of force, whatever. It wasn't like he was bombing a bunch of like civilians inside of our cities, which is what Obama administration and the Hillary State Department did. If you wonder why I railed against the Democrats, though I'm a liberal person and I care about people, because I think they, like the Bush administration and like the Clinton administration before that and like the first Bush, they hid they were able to keep out of the media all the civilian bombings that all four of those administrations did. They killed a lot of civilians, right? In Czechoslovakia, or in Sarajevo, and in Bosnia, and in Syria, and in Iraq, and in Afghanistan. If you want to buy that 9/11 was bombed by a bunch of like 19 hijackers with box cutters, flew into buildings and knocked them down, and so we should invade Afghanistan, I can go with you that far, but you should have been wise enough to realize that the Iraqi invasion was not tied at all. Like, that was a complete snow job by the media and by that administration. Anyway, so it's going to be a very political day. I'm torn between excited and nervous, just because I don't care to have a 14-month political season, but I also would like a lot of these things to come to light, and the good things that this administration are doing, and there's a lot of them. All the human trafficking, all the child abuse, all the arrests made in child sex trafficking that's been made. It's really, if you look at those numbers, you have to go hunt for the articles because mainstream media is not putting them in your face. But the feeds that I get talk about how they've arrested 1,700 people in Ohio for trafficking children, and 150 people in California. Like, they're shutting these big operations down. This Justice Department, the Attorney General that you hate, William Barr, his Justice Department is taking down all these sex trafficking rings, which is tremendous. And the other administrations, I cite all four. I have equal disdain for all four of them. They didn't do that. They put a pretty face and a good speaker in front of you, and you fell for it. And right now I like this analogy. If I've got raccoons in my attic, and I get an extermination company to send the guy over, the guy that's sent over is well dressed and he's polite and he speaks very well, and he comes and he goes, and I realize the raccoon's still up there the next day. So I'm like, well, call up the company. Hey, the raccoon's still up there, but your guy was really friendly. He was really nice. I didn't dislike the tech you sent over, but he didn't get the job done. Can you send somebody else over? And they send over another guy, and he also is well dressed, and he also speaks well, and he also is very polite to my wife, and he does go up the attic, and he fools around for a little bit, comes back down. That night, I'm still hearing the raccoon. I'm like, what the hell? So I said, I'm not going to call this company again. I'm going to call another company. I don't know what the reputation is. They're kind of an unknown. They get this guy to come over, and he's cussing, and he's got his pants pulled on, and I see his butt crack. He goes up in the attic and pulls the raccoon out and shows it to me, walks out the door with the cage. I could care less how he spoke. He got the job done, right? And that's where we are with Washington. I need someone who's going to get the job done. Past, term limits. Get us out of wars. Bring our boys home. Boys and women home. Spend that capital in our country. Get some fair trade going so we can actually compete industrially. Anyways, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm siding with them yet. I'm just saying that I don't despise them the way that so many other people do. All right. I'm going to get parking, and then I'm going to get to work. Cheers.